You will see evidence of people's values in the really parts of their life. It will be very, very clear if someone truly has grit or if they're just saying they have grit, if you zoom in on the harder chapters of their life and career stories. It looks like Paul's ready on deck to ask you a question about core values and hiring. So Paul, if you're ready, take it away.
Yeah, I had a question. So when you're trying to find new team members that are going to fit with your culture, what are some core values that you guys focus on, and how important is that aspect of recruiting versus technical skills when you're looking for a team member?
It's a big part, and I think it's very dependent on the position as well. But I think one of the things we do is we try and show some culture in our hiring campaigns. You know, we'll have a criteria list depending on what the job description is, but we'll have some fun things in there like must be a Leafs fan only when they win, or things about ATVing or boating or water skiing or skiing in the mountains, a lover of craft beers, that sort of information in there to break up kind of the monotony of all the skill sets you must have to qualify for this job. And it attracts some interesting people. It attracts some great comments. So I think just trying to be a little bit different from the norm in how you post and how you strategize about who you're trying to hire and what the position entails. I don't do a lot of the interviewing anymore. I help more when we get to the final selections and get some feedback. But my team does a great job of really taking them to the shop, introducing them to some crews. We do a training week. The first week that they come on board, we try and onboard any new people at the same time, and we put a lot of effort into that training week with multiple supers and making sure they have a really good feel-out process to who they might be a good fit to work with, again, depending on the role. But yeah, I think just trying to be a little bit different, Paul, and really putting a lot of effort into what those, what the message is from the marketing or from the ad. I think it's all good value.
I want to piggyback on Paul's question because it's a great question, and I want to take it a step further. What have you found the most effective way to interview for core values? This is like such a widespread soundbite at this point, the core values thing, and I always feel like people skip a step, which is like, okay, that's great, but great, I want to have core values. And I want to hire people for core values. And unfortunately, sometimes I'm going to need to fire people because they don't fit our core values. Got it. But then the question is like, well, how do I actually quantify that? So there's a way that I think there's maybe a more like technical way or a clever way to ask questions or ways to look into their past experience or how they handled situations that makes it really clear to us as the team builder. There's evidence that this core value exists in this person. Have you found a way to do that systematically, or is it just truly like a feel thing, Kev?
I think a lot of it is still a feel thing, Benji, but I think you can make it as much more casual. Sometimes interviews can be too rigid, and I think often here when we get in a new resume, it's the email back is usually more like, hey, we'd love to meet you. Come on in for a coffee. We'll take you for a tour. And through that tour, that tour might be an hour and a half of our time or somebody's time to take them to the shop or to a few sites and meet some people in the office, maybe the design department. But I think that time spent is just so good. I think it allows you to throw in some questions that are on, that seem a little more casual and not so structured. Past problems that they've had, issues at other companies, what their family life is like, how that looks for them. Are they single? Are they married? Do they have children? How old are the kids? And really sort of have that conversation versus the, how many years have you been cutting stone, or what's your skill set in an excavator? Because often that just comes up as part of the conversation over that hour and a half period. And again, I realize that not everybody takes or has that much time for the interview process, but we just feel like it's so important. And it also really helps us be selective. We're very selective when we pick new team members. I feel like having that hour and a half conversation at the beginning kind of tells you everything you need to know. You're not always right, but I would say in the past 5 or 6 years, we were actually talking about this the other day, we haven't fired anybody in 9 years. Our retention rate for the past 3 years is almost 100%. It's definitely working, and it takes some work and time.
Jaden just made a really good comment here in the chat that I'm going to share actually, because I like it. She says, I think if someone can even identify their own core values, it means a lot. It shows they are a thoughtful and secure person. That's an interesting choice of words, and I agree, thoughtful and secure. Even if the core values don't exactly match the company. So many people just go with the flow of life and don't pause to consider what's really important to them. I love that, and I think that's a great call out. I also will say the one thing that I have found really useful, and then we'll get to the next question, you will see evidence of people's values in the really parts of their life. Sorry for swearing, but when you're interviewing someone, what you want to do is allow them to expand on their life story and their career story enough so that you have some sample size and you can kind of see the roller coaster ride that they've been through. It's never just like up and to the right for people, right? Like they're gonna, oh yeah, I got fired from this job and I went through a divorce and I had a major health scare, like whatever it is, you're gonna find those moments, and you want to sort of like, if you put it on a graph, you want to kind of like zoom in on like the harder parts of the story and really start to ask a lot of thought-provoking and probing questions about how they handled it, what they were feeling, how they made decisions to do the things that they did that got them through that section. And I found that process in interviews to be the most effective way to start to sort of scientifically extract what these people's values are, because it will be very, very clear if someone truly has grit or if they're just saying they have grit if you zoom in on the harder chapters of their life and career story. So I thought I'd add that at the end.